Most people spend the first quarter of their lives in school, surrounded by lessons, classrooms, tests, and teachers, and yet somehow they graduate without ever learning the one lesson that determines how far they go in life. We're taught how to memorize, how to recite, how to solve for X, and how to follow instructions, but almost no one teaches us how to create success, how to forge a life of purpose, prosperity, contribution, and personal mastery. That's what they forgot to teach you, and it's not because it's too complex. On the contrary, the truths of success are surprisingly simple, but they require a different kind of education, the kind that begins not with information, but with understanding. Not with rules, but with principles. Not with conformity, but with responsibility. Success, real success, is not something you stumble into. It is something you build, piece by piece, thought by thought, decision by decision, and it begins the moment you take ownership of your own mind. Let me ask you a question. If success is so important and so many people want it, why don't more people achieve it? The answer is as uncomfortable as it is liberating. Most people were simply never told the truth. They were trained to fit in, not to rise, conditioned to obey, not to think, taught to hope, but not to plan. From a young age, we are told to play it safe, to follow the crowd, to wait for permission, but the truth is, success does not arrive through safety or silence. It is born through thought, discipline, and a clearly defined direction. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how wealthy your family is, or how lucky you've been. If you don't know how to think clearly, set a goal and persist until it's achieved, you'll drift like a ship without a rudder. That's not just a poetic idea, it's a statistical reality. Most people end up in lives they didn't choose because they never learned how to choose. Now let me share something that may surprise you. Success isn't a mystery. It isn't a hidden code or a secret handshake reserved for the elite. It is, quite simply, the progressive realization of a worthy goal. That's all. You define what you want, and then you move toward it, day after day, step by step. Most people never do this. They wait, they wish, they hope, but they never decide, and without decision, there is no direction. Without direction, there is no progress, and without progress, there is no success. The tragedy is not that people aim high and miss. The real tragedy is that they aim low and hit, or worse, they never aim at all. This is what they forgot to teach you, that you are the architect of your own destiny, and the raw material is your own thought. Think of your mind as a garden. That idea alone could change your life. If you plant seeds of doubt, you'll grow weeds of hesitation. If you plant seeds of fear, you'll harvest excuses. But if you plant seeds of vision, of belief, of clear intent, you'll grow results that match the quality of your thoughts. You don't need more time, you need more clarity. You don't need better luck. You need better habits. You don't need to wait for life to change. You need to start changing it from the inside out. That's what they didn't tell you in school. That the most important tool you possess isn't your resume or your diploma, it's your ability to think. And not just to think passively, but to think intentionally, creatively, and with unwavering purpose. It's important to understand this. The mind is always at work. It does not sit idle. It's planting seeds, whether you're aware of it or not. Every worry, every complaint, every assumption, it all takes root, and eventually it bears fruit. So the question is not whether your mind is creating. The question is, what is it creating? Are you programming it with purpose? Or are you letting the world do it for you? Because if you don't plant your own vision, someone else will plant theirs, and they may not have your best interests in mind. That's why success starts with awareness. You must become the observer of your own thoughts, not to judge them, but to direct them. Not to control every idea, but to decide which ideas deserve to grow. So let me offer a challenge. Today I want you to take out a notepad, yes, a real one, and write down this question: what do I want? It sounds simple, but it's the doorway to everything. Most people can't answer it with clarity. They'll say things like, I just want to be happy, or I want to be successful. But success demands specificity. Clarity precedes achievement. You must know the target before you can hit it. So ask yourself, what do I want? In my work, in my finances, in my relationships, in my character? And once you've written the answers, pick one, just one, and start moving toward it today. Not next week, not when the timing is better. Start now, because the moment you begin to move with intention, you begin to transform. And here's what you'll notice when you do. The world starts to respond differently. Opportunities seem to show up where there was once silence. People begin to take you more seriously, not because they've changed, but because you have. You're no longer broadcasting confusion. You're transmitting conviction. And conviction is magnetic. Success doesn't chase people, it's drawn to those who move with clarity, with discipline, with purpose. That's the great irony. The very thing most people are waiting for, success, is already waiting for them. But it won't come to those who sit. It comes to those who act. And not with haste, but with direction. Remember this: school may have taught you how to solve a math problem, but it probably didn't teach you how to solve a life problem. It taught you to prepare for a test, but not to prepare for purpose. It rewarded right answers, but didn't encourage right questions. That's your responsibility now. To ask, to think, to define, to choose, and above all, to begin. Success is not found in theory, it is found in action. Not someday, not when you feel ready, but now. Because the clock is ticking, and the only thing standing between you and the life you desire is the decision to step forward and claim it. Now that we've peeled back the illusion and seen that success is not a matter of chance but a matter of choice, we must confront an even deeper truth. Every result you've experienced so far, good or bad, began in thought. Not in action, not in luck, not in someone else's opinion. Thought is the original cause. You see, this is what they forgot to teach you. They emphasized facts but neglected to teach focus. They filled your mind with data but never taught you how to direct it. And so people grow up filled with knowledge but starved of wisdom. Success doesn't come to the person who knows the most. It comes to the person who acts on what they know with intention, belief, and consistency. Every result is preceded by a decision. Every decision is shaped by a belief, and every belief is born in thought. So if you want to change your results, you must begin by changing your thinking. And the most powerful shift you can make is to stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like a creator. Victims wait, creators initiate. Victims react, creators design. Victims blame, creators build. This is not just motivational language, it is psychological fact. The mind cannot operate at its highest level while believing it is powerless. And the tragedy is, many people live entire lives inside invisible cages built from limitation and false assumption. They don't try because they think they're not ready. They don't begin because they think it won't work. They don't speak up because they fear being wrong. But who programmed these fears? Where did these assumptions come from? Most of them were inherited, absorbed unconsciously from parents, teachers, media, or experience, and yet they were never questioned. That is the missing link. No one taught us how to examine our thoughts, but you can start now. Ask yourself, is this belief helping me or holding me back? If it's not serving your success, it's time to let it go. Here's something they definitely forgot to teach you. Your mind has a built-in autopilot, but you must program it. If you don't, it will default to the patterns of the past, to what's comfortable, to what's safe, to what's familiar. The subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It doesn't care what you plant. It will grow weeds just as easily as it will grow wheat. The conscious mind is the farmer, and success begins the moment you become deliberate with the seeds you sow. You don't rise to the level of your wishes, you rise to the level of your standards. And your standards are set by what you tolerate in thought, in action, and in environment. This is why two people can grow up in the same town, attend the same schools, live in the same economy, and yet produce entirely different results. One programmed themselves for growth, the other remained on autopilot. Your life bends not to what you hope for, but to what you repeatedly affirm through thought and behavior. Let's pause here and reflect. What are the dominant thoughts you've been entertaining? What internal scripts have you been rehearsing? Are you telling yourself you're too young, too late, too inexperienced? Or are you affirming possibility, purpose, and perseverance? Because your mind listens, and then it builds. Every thought repeated often enough becomes a belief. Every belief strengthened by action becomes an identity, and every identity becomes a blueprint. That's how success is formed from the inside out. So it's time to audit the inner dialogue, catch the patterns, rewrite the scripts. You don't need permission to think higher thoughts. You don't need credentials to form a new identity. All you need is the decision to speak to yourself with vision, with truth, and with belief in your potential. The world will begin to reflect that back to you the moment you do. Let me tell you a story. A man once asked me why he always seemed to struggle, no matter how hard he worked. He said he read the books, followed the advice, did everything right, but still no breakthrough. I asked him one question: what do you believe you deserve? He paused, confused. Then it hit him. He'd been doing all the right things, but thinking all the wrong thoughts. He believed success was for others, that wealth was rare, that he was always one step behind. And so unconsciously, he built a life that reflected those assumptions. His mind was working perfectly. It was just following bad instructions. When he rewrote the internal story, his results began to change. This is not magic. This is mental alignment. You are always moving toward the person you believe yourself to be, so choose wisely. Success isn't about adding more, it's often about subtracting what no longer serves you. Old stories, outdated habits, limiting environments. The person who achieves success isn't the one who knows everything, it's the one who's willing to unlearn the lies. Most people are running software that was installed when they were 10 years old. Ideas like money is bad, rich people are greedy, or play it safe and don't stand out. But those ideas were never facts, they were just programs. And every program can be rewritten. The brain is adaptable, the subconscious is trainable. And you right now are the programmer. So take control, start now. Rewrite the code. Tell yourself, I am capable, I am disciplined, I am becoming the person who creates results. Not someday, not when it's convenient, today. Now let's bring this down to practice. Starting tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to repeat a new story to yourself. Just 10 words. I am moving forward. My success is already underway. Say it slowly. Say it with conviction. Let it sink in. Your final thoughts before sleep are powerful. They enter the subconscious directly, and when repeated night after night, they begin to shift the internal narrative. That narrative becomes expectation. That expectation becomes behavior. That behavior becomes momentum, and momentum, when sustained, creates results. This isn't theory. This is how the mind works. And the beauty is, it's available to everyone. You don't need a title. You don't need a breakthrough. You just need a beginning. So what's the takeaway? They forgot to teach you that success is a decision, a mindset, a pattern of thought you choose, not once but daily. It is less about what happens to you and more about what happens through you. Most people are looking for answers outside of themselves, but the answer has always been this: you become what you think about. That's the first truth, and the moment you accept that, everything changes. Your thoughts become sacred, your words become tools, your habits become investments, and your identity becomes intentional. This is how the successful think, not by accident but by design. Now that we've established that success is first mental before it is ever material, let's confront the next truth they forgot to teach you. Success is not something you chase, it is something you attract by the person you become. The world is full of people running toward money, running toward recognition, running toward opportunity. But few ever stop to realize that it's not about running faster, it's about becoming the kind of person who naturally draws the very things they desire. This is the great secret hidden in plain sight. We do not get what we want, we get what we are. Who you are, your habits, your mindset, your level of discipline is a magnet, and that magnet is either pulling success toward you or pushing it away. You can fake effort, but you cannot fake vibration. The energy you carry, the level of belief, the sharpness of your focus, the seriousness of your intention, it speaks louder than your words, louder than your resume, louder than your plans. And success, whether in business, health, or relationships, always listens. That's why personal development is not a luxury. It's the foundation. Not something to do when you have time, but the very work that makes all other work meaningful. They taught you how to solve equations, but did they ever teach you how to solve for your future identity? Did they show you how to raise your standards? How to develop character? How to master self-discipline when no one is watching? Likely not. But these are the true currencies of success. They determine whether you rise or remain. Discipline is the quiet engine that powers every breakthrough. Not talent, not charisma. Discipline. The ability to do what must be done long after the mood has passed. And here's the beauty of it. Discipline is not a trait. It is a decision repeated until it becomes who you are. Just like laziness, just like doubt. Every repeated choice rewires the brain, and over time that wiring becomes your identity. So if you want to become successful, you must begin by becoming the kind of person who does the work, especially when it's inconvenient. Now let's talk about sacrifice, another principle they left off the syllabus. If you ask most people what they want, they'll tell you about the rewards. They want freedom, they want peace, they want abundance. But they rarely mention the price. Success has a cost, and that cost is almost always paid in advance. You pay in effort, in discipline, in long hours, in difficult choices. But here's the thing, they're not losses, they are investments. Every early morning, every late night, every moment of study or focus, it's not time lost, it's success compounded. Sacrifice is not about suffering, it's about trade. You're trading temporary comfort for long-term excellence, and this is where most people falter. They want the life, but they're unwilling to release the behaviors that are keeping them stuck. But you cannot hold on to mediocrity and reach for greatness at the same time. You must let go, you must choose, and you must choose daily. You see, they forgot to teach you that success is not a single decision. It is a series of decisions repeated with integrity. Each day is a vote for the person you are becoming. And every moment presents the same question. Will I honor the vision, or will I excuse the moment? The successful don't have more motivation. They have more resolve. They wake up tired, they face distractions, but they've trained themselves to act anyway. That's what separates them. Not luck, not ease, but internal alignment. Their habits match their vision. Their routines reflect their values, and that alignment creates momentum. When your actions are aligned with your identity, success becomes inevitable. Not overnight, but over time. Because every right action, no matter how small, adds weight to the outcome. Let me give you an analogy. Success is like climbing a mountain, but the path is invisible until you take the next step. Most people wait to see the whole trail. They want guarantees, they want certainty, but the mountain doesn't work that way. You earn the view with every step, and as you rise, what once seemed impossible becomes your new normal. The air is thinner, the crowd is smaller, but the view, it's worth every step. Understand this. You're not climbing just for the summit. You're climbing to become someone who can live at that level, someone who belongs there, not by chance, but by merit, not by accident, but by growth. The mountain doesn't make you, it reveals you, and in every step, in every challenge, in every choice, you are being shaped. And now let me bring it down to practice again. If you truly want to begin the climb, you must set rituals, not just goals. Goals are destinations. Rituals are vehicles. A goal says, I want to be fit. A ritual says, I exercise every morning. A goal says, I want to be wealthy. A ritual says, I save, I learn, I build every day. This is the path. This is the system. And once the system is in place, success stops being a mystery and starts becoming math. You'll find yourself wondering why others still wait while you've already begun. You'll notice that the resistance fades, not because the work is easier, but because you've become stronger. You've changed your patterns, and the moment your patterns change, your destiny follows. And here's something you must remember along the way: your environment matters. You cannot soar while surrounded by anchors. If the people around you complain, make excuses, and sabotage their own growth, you must rise anyway. And sometimes, rising requires distance. Not because you are better, but because you are becoming. And becoming requires protection. Guard your focus. Protect your habits. Surround yourself with reminders of who you are becoming. Books, voices, environments, accountability. These are not luxuries. They are oxygen for the mind. Because in a world that pulls you toward comfort and conformity, you must deliberately choose growth and clarity, daily. So I'll leave you with this. You were not meant to drift. You were not built for average. And you were not designed to live by default. The truth is, success was never hidden. It was simply misrepresented. It was never about tricks. It was always about transformation. And the good news is, transformation is available to anyone who is willing to act, to persist, and to grow. They may have forgotten to teach you that in school, but now you know, and now you're responsible. There's a principle I want you to understand clearly, one that sits at the very center of all success, and it's this: life will always mirror your inner world. Not occasionally, not sometimes, always. What you consistently think about, feel, expect, and believe becomes the shape of your experience. That's not mystical, it's mechanical. It's not fantasy, it's function. You are not walking through a neutral world. You are walking through a responsive one. A mirror, a reflector, a feedback system that responds not to your wishes but to your mental patterns. They forgot to teach you this in school. They taught you to memorize what was on the board, but not to observe what was on your mind. They told you to pass the test, but they didn't tell you that life is constantly testing your beliefs. And those who understand this, those who take responsibility for what they believe, what they expect, and what they rehearse internally, are the ones who shape their circumstances instead of being shaped by them. Let me ask you something personal. What do you expect from your life? Not what you wish for, not what you say out loud to impress others, but what do you truly expect in your quietest moments? Because that expectation, whatever it is silently steering your behavior, your decisions, your opportunities, and your outcomes. Expectation is a hidden force. You don't always notice it, but it shows up in how you walk into a room. It affects the tone of your voice, the tilt of your head, the firmness of your decisions, and over time it creates a life that matches the level of that internal expectancy. If you expect problems, you will attract them. If you expect to be overlooked, you will move through life in a way that ensures you are. But if you expect growth, if you expect success, not arrogantly but firmly, you begin to make choices that confirm that belief. This is not positive thinking, this is responsible thinking, strategic thinking. It is the discipline of directing your mind to expect excellence, not by fantasy, but by repeated internal alignment. They forgot to teach you that the world doesn't respond to your need, it responds to your posture, how you show up, how you speak to yourself, how you carry your internal world. A person with strong inner posture moves through life with a kind of quiet authority. They don't plead for success, they expect it. They don't demand from others, they develop themselves. And that development becomes their leverage. They create gravity. People are drawn to them. Opportunities circulate around them, not because they're loud, but because they're aligned. Their outer world reflects the discipline, vision, and belief they've cultivated in silence. That's the real work, building the unseen structures that eventually manifest into visible results. And it all begins with how you think when no one is watching. Here's the irony. We've built systems that evaluate test scores and IQ, but rarely do we measure attitude, expectation, or mental clarity. And yet those are the very things that determine whether a person rises or falls. Not knowledge alone, but how you apply it. Not effort alone, but whether that effort is aligned with a vision. Think of two people. One moves with confidence, expectation, and direction. The other hesitates, doubts, and second guesses. Even if they possess the same skills, their results will be worlds apart. Why? Because mindset shapes momentum, and momentum once created compounds. So the most valuable habit you can develop is this: take control of your inner state, cultivate belief, speak with clarity, think with direction. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about consistently choosing a posture that matches your goal, even when the evidence isn't there yet. You must understand that success is not something you react to, it's something you generate. It comes from within, and it is fueled by a deep and repeated inner decision to live as if your goal is already real. This is what they forgot to teach you, that you must live in the energy of the outcome before the outcome arrives. If you wait for your external world to validate your vision, you will wait forever. But if you walk through life carrying the mindset of the man or woman who has already succeeded, if you think, speak, and act from that place, you create a path for reality to catch up. That is how vision works. It leads, it doesn't follow. And this isn't arrogance, it's alignment. You are not pretending, you are preparing. You are training your body, your mind, and your environment to make room for what you've decided is already yours. Let me give you a simple practice that changes everything. Begin each day with the question, who am I becoming today? Not what do I have to do, not how can I survive this day, but who am I becoming? This one question centers you, it connects your current actions to your future identity. And when you live from identity, discipline becomes natural. You no longer have to force your behavior because you've already decided who you are. This is how the great ones move. They don't rely on willpower, they rely on identity. And every morning they recommit. That is the habit, that is the posture, that is the anchor. And the moment you make this your way of life, you stop drifting and start designing. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop waiting and start becoming. Here's another truth they never taught you. Success is a function of emotional mastery. Most people are ruled by how they feel in the moment. They let mood dictate motion. But the successful don't wait to feel motivated. They're committed whether they feel like it or not. They've trained themselves to act independently of their emotions. And that one decision to not be ruled by temporary feeling is what creates lasting power. It's not that they don't feel fear, it's that they've made fear irrelevant. It's not that they don't get tired, it's that they've decided tiredness is not an excuse. This is strength, this is maturity, this is mastery. And once you realize that your emotions are tools, not tyrants, you begin to live with an entirely different level of power. So let me challenge you. For the next 24 hours, act as if you already are the person you want to become. Speak like them, move like them, think like them. Don't wait for a change in circumstances. Be the change in consciousness. This is not a trick, it's a test. And you'll be amazed at how differently the world responds to you. You'll see new opportunities, sharper insights, and renewed energy. Not because anything out there shifted, but because you did. You changed your signal. And the world, always responsive, adjusted its reflection. Remember, the world will always reflect what you believe, so make your beliefs worth reflecting. Now let's talk about the greatest illusion of all, the one they never even thought to challenge. The idea that success is out there somewhere in the future, waiting to be found. That one day, if you're lucky or connected or persistent enough, you'll stumble across it. That it's something distant, external, separate from who you are. But here's the truth they forgot to teach you. Success is not something you find, it's something you generate. It's not a destination, it's a byproduct. It's the natural result of a person living in alignment with purpose, discipline, and clarity of thought. You don't get success like a prize, you become it like a process. And when you finally understand this, everything changes. You stop chasing and start creating. You stop hoping and start building. You stop waiting and you start moving from the center of who you are. What they didn't teach you is that the most powerful force in your life isn't your environment, your background, or even your talent. It's your pattern, your daily pattern, your repeated way of thinking, your consistent decisions, habits, responses, and rituals. That's the real curriculum for success. But we weren't graded on that in school. We were tested on memorization, not on mindset. And so we left with knowledge but without direction, skills but without vision. The world told us to be productive, but didn't tell us who to become. And the result? A generation of people who are busy but not fulfilled, in motion but not in alignment, productive but not effective. Because without inner clarity, even the best strategy leads nowhere. So if you want to rise, don't just study what to do. Study how to be. Rebuild your pattern, because your pattern becomes your path. There's a quiet truth most people overlook. Every day you are casting votes for your future. Not with your words, but with your routines, your decisions, your level of focus. And success is simply the compound result of those votes. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be consistent. Because in this game, consistency beats intensity. One person sprints once a month, another walks every day. Guess who wins? The one who showed up, the one who repeated, the one who didn't need drama or motivation, just a reason. And that reason? It's your vision, your purpose, that picture of who you could be if you lived with full intention. And it's not given to you, it's built, it's sculpted, day by day with tools like discipline, reflection, and courage. And over time it becomes undeniable. This is what they forgot to teach you. Success is not sudden. It is earned in silence long before it is seen in public. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a sculptor standing before a massive block of marble. To the untrained eye, it's just a rock. But the sculptor sees something inside, an image, a form, a possibility. Every strike of the chisel removes what doesn't belong. Every tap, every angle, every hour of patient labor reveals more of what was always there. You are that sculptor, and your life is the marble. You don't add success, you chip away everything that isn't aligned with it, the doubts, the laziness, the distractions, the self-sabotage. With every act of discipline, every clarified thought, every refined habit, you reveal more of the greatness that was already inside you. That is the process, and it is sacred. You are not becoming something artificial. You are revealing what was true all along. And while we're on the subject of revelation, let's clear up another lie they forgot to correct. The lie that says success must come at the cost of joy. That if you want to build something great, you must suffer, hustle endlessly, and sacrifice all peace in the name of progress. But that's not success, that's imbalance. True success is not built on burnout, it's built on harmony. Discipline doesn't have to be miserable. In fact, the most disciplined people are often the most peaceful. Why? Because they're in alignment. Their actions match their values. Their time matches their purpose. Their life isn't fractured by contradiction. That's what brings peace, not escape, but integration. Not avoidance, but alignment. The moment your work serves your vision and your habits serve your values, you stop feeling exhausted and start feeling fulfilled. That's real success, and no one taught you that. They also forgot to tell you that your time is your life. Not your money, not your possessions. Your time, and how you use it, is the clearest reflection of what you believe about yourself. Do you treat your time like it's valuable? Do you protect it, direct it, or do you give it away to distractions, to people who drain you, to habits that dull your mind? Success demands that you become a steward of your hours, that you manage your attention like a precious resource. Because it is. Your focus is your fuel, and where it goes, your life flows. So reclaim it, guard it, build rituals that defend it. Create space to think, to plan, to rest, to build. Don't just fill your days, forge them, design them, shape them in the image of the person you are becoming. That's what they forgot to teach you, that time isn't just passing, it's sculpting you. And now, perhaps most importantly, remember this. The journey is not linear, It rises, it dips, it tests, it strengthens. Some days you'll feel on fire, others you'll question everything. That's not failure, that's formation. Success is not a straight line, it's a spiral staircase. You rise by returning again and again to your commitment, your principles, your reason why. You ascend by staying loyal to the invisible, to the habits no one sees, to the thoughts you refuse to entertain, to the vision you hold, even when results lag behind. That's real strength. That's how legacies are built, not in ease, but in the relentless return to what matters most. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you cast another vote for the life you're building. So as you move forward from this moment, I want you to carry one idea above all. Success is not somewhere you go. It is something you express. You don't arrive at success, you express it through the way you live, through how you think, how you respond, how you treat yourself when no one is watching. This is what they forgot to teach you. But now you know, and with that knowledge comes responsibility. Not to be perfect, but to be present. Not to impress, but to express. Not to follow blindly, but to lead yourself with clarity, with conviction, and with care. That is success. And that, my friend, begins today. Let us now turn to the source of all real power, the invisible engine beneath every result, every relationship, every outcome: intention. This too is what they forgot to teach you, that behind every action there is an energy, a purpose, a reason. And when your intention is clear, the path reveals itself. But when your intention is vague, your results will always be scattered. Most people drift not because they lack talent, but because they never stop to ask, why am I doing this? They set goals without depth. They chase success without meaning. And so even when they achieve something, it feels hollow. The real winners in life are not those who move the fastest. They are the ones who move the most intentionally. They say yes only when it aligns with their purpose. They say no with clarity and calm, and that calm becomes their advantage in a noisy, distracted world. Ask yourself now, what is the deeper reason behind the life you're building? Is it just to earn more, to impress, to compete? Or is it to grow, to serve, to become someone worthy of their own potential? Because that intention will shape every detail of your path. If your intention is strong, you'll persevere when it's hard. If your intention is pure, you'll attract the right people and the right moments. If your intention is aligned, your results will reflect a higher order, one that leads to peace, not just progress. This is something the classroom could never teach you, that clarity of purpose is more valuable than any amount of effort in the wrong direction. It's not just about working harder, it's about aiming wiser. And that wisdom only comes from knowing who you are and why you're here. And once you've clarified your intention, your energy begins to change. You stop rushing, you stop forcing, you begin to move with a quiet urgency, not from panic, but from principle. This is where mastery begins, not with overwhelm, but with simplicity. Complexity confuses, clarity frees. A clear intention cuts through fear like light through fog. It's the difference between activity and progress, between movement and impact. The person who knows why they are building something will outlast the one who is only chasing a number, because numbers come and go, but identity, that lasts. So ask again, what do I intend to build with this day, with this week, with this life? And do my actions reflect that? Because if they don't, now is the time to adjust. Not tomorrow, now. The longer you live out of alignment, the heavier your life becomes. Let's now talk about integrity. Not the version we hear in ethics classes, but the kind that lives in silence. Integrity is when your inner world and your outer world match. When what you say is what you do, when what you believe is how you behave. That alignment creates trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you build trust in your identity. You strengthen the signal of who you are becoming. But every time you break a commitment to yourself, every skipped workout, every avoided task, every compromise, you weaken that signal. And over time you begin to doubt, not the world, but yourself. That's why success must be built on self-trust. And self-trust is built on small, repeated, private acts of integrity. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, predictable, grounded. That's how strength is formed. They forgot to tell you that no amount of strategy can replace the inner stability of integrity. You can have the best tactics, the most advanced tools, the sharpest plan, but if you don't trust yourself to follow through, none of it matters. The man or woman who keeps promises to themselves becomes unstoppable, not because of what they know, but because of who they are. Their word becomes law. Their action becomes automatic. They no longer wonder if they can do it. They know they will, because they've proven it, not to the world, but to themselves. That kind of person doesn't need to be motivated every day. Their life runs on principle. Their behavior is rooted in decision, not emotion. And that level of character builds results no shortcut ever could. Now consider this. Every time you do the right thing, even when it's inconvenient, you sharpen the blade of your character. You increase your leverage. You become more powerful in ways that others can't see, but life responds to it. People feel it. Opportunities bend toward it. That's what they forgot to teach you, how character compounds. Just like money, just like fitness, just like skills, character is not fixed, it's trained. And every time you act in alignment, you're building a kind of invisible capital that eventually shows up as confidence, clarity, and command. The world trusts people who are in integrity, not because of their talk, but because of their walk. And in the long run, that walk becomes legacy. So if there's a single trait you should obsess over, it's this: be someone you respect. Let that be your first victory. Before money, before titles, before applause, be someone you're proud to be when no one is watching. That kind of self-respect becomes a magnetic field. It pulls the right people, the right moments, the right future. And no one taught us that. They gave us external standards, grades, evaluations, metrics, but they never told us to build internal standards. So now it's your job. And it starts with a single question: what kind of person would I admire? Now go become them. Not later, not next year, now, in the next hour, in the next breath. And lastly, let me remind you, you are not a product of your past. You are a product of your decision to grow. Right now, in this moment, you are one disciplined action away from a new trajectory. That's not cliche, that's power. The power of choice, the power of now. And the moment you stop outsourcing that power, when you take it back, own it, protect it, that's when life begins to shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Now we come to one of the final, most transformative truths they forgot to teach you, perhaps because they didn't know it themselves, that success is spiritual, not religious, not ceremonial, but deeply, undeniably spiritual. Because what is success truly, if not the full expression of who you were created to become? To succeed is to fulfill purpose, to live in alignment with the design within you, to awaken your gifts, multiply them, and release them into the world. That's not just achievement, that's sacred. And yet the world around us teaches us to seek results without roots, performance without peace, goals without grounding. But a man or woman disconnected from their inner compass will always drift, no matter how fast they move. That's why so many people feel lost even after they make it, because what they built wasn't anchored, what they gained wasn't aligned. Real success feels different. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't prove. It simply flows from the deep, calm place of truth. You see, they forgot to tell you that beneath every principle of wealth, discipline, goal setting, and personal development, there is a spiritual law. One that says, as within, so without, as above, so below. You cannot build a higher outer world than the level of your inner world. You cannot lead others if you do not lead yourself. You cannot attract abundance if you secretly believe you're unworthy of it. That's why true success begins with inner stillness, with silence, with the discipline to unplug, to reflect, to listen, not to the noise, but to the whisper within. Call it intuition, call it divine guidance, call it your conscience. Whatever name you give it, it is always there. And the people who succeed long-term, the ones who not only gain wealth but keep their soul intact, are the ones who build from that place first. They consult their values before they consult the trends. They answer to a higher principle before they answer to performance metrics. And that integrity, spiritual integrity, is what gives their success its power. So ask yourself now, am I listening to that inner voice, or have I become deafened by the volume of the world? Because the world is loud, and the ego is even louder. It will tell you to hurry, to compare, to compete, to hustle harder. But the soul moves differently. The soul is not in a rush. It doesn't clamor for attention. It simply asks, are you becoming who you were meant to be? That's the deeper test. Not how much you've gathered, but how much you've grown. Not what you've achieved, but what you've aligned with. You may fool the world with your accomplishments, but you will never fool your own spirit. And that's good news, because once you decide to live from that level, from purpose, from values, from truth, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get anchored. The winds still come, but you no longer drift. This is what they forgot to teach you, that your spirit is the source of your strength. that your conscience is a compass, that your peace is power. And in a distracted, noisy, insecure world, those who walk calmly, intentionally, spiritually, carry a gravity no algorithm can replicate. You want real influence? Walk with conviction. You want lasting fulfillment? Build from wholeness. You want to create results that outlast your lifetime? Align your actions with eternal principles: service, love, excellence, discipline, truth. These things never expire, never go out of style. They are the original architecture of greatness, and the people who embody them are remembered long after the noise has passed. Let me make this practical. Just as you manage your habits, manage your spirit. Create a spiritual practice, no matter how small. 5 minutes of silence in the morning, a sentence of gratitude before each meal, a walk without your phone, a handwritten prayer or affirmation before bed. These aren't rituals for show. They're recalibrations of the soul. They remind you of who you are, where you're going, and what truly matters. And when that clarity is in place, decisions get easier. Boundaries become natural. Success becomes a rhythm, not a chase. Because your energy is no longer scattered, it is focused, directed, consecrated. And that kind of energy creates a life of rare beauty and depth. They forgot to tell you that success is a gift, but also a responsibility. That when you begin to rise, you become an example, a light, a standard. People are watching you not for perfection, but for proof that discipline, vision, and spiritual grounding still work. And when you lead from that place, you give permission to others to rise as well, not by shouting, not by dominating, but by being, by embodying the values you speak of. That is leadership. That is influence. That is the kind of success that turns into legacy. And legacy is never built on noise. It is built on soul. And as we draw closer to the final lesson, I want you to write this down. My success will be a reflection of my inner order. Say it again. Believe it. Let it sink in. Because if your inner world is scattered, your results will be scattered. But if your inner world is focused, calm, aligned, your external world will begin to reflect that order. Don't just chase clarity. Create it. Don't just seek abundance. Embody it. Don't just hope for peace. Choose it. Daily. Quietly. Fiercely. Because you're not here to merely survive. You're here to build something sacred. And finally, never forget this: your thoughts are prayers, your decisions are offerings, your discipline is devotion. The way you show up to your work, to your habits, to your goals, is the way you show up to life itself. Make it count, make it holy, make it a masterpiece worth remembering.